As I sit in the kitchen, the sun streams through the window, illuminating dust motes dancing in the still air. The scent of freshly brewed coffee fills the room, but it's bittersweet today, a reminder of the warmth that has vanished from my life. I close my eyes and allow myself to drift back to the days when Daniel was a child, when our laughter echoed through these walls and our bond felt unbreakable. I remember the late-night homework sessions, sprawled across the living room floor with books and papers scattered around us. Daniel's brow would furrow in concentration, and I'd lean over to help him understand the complexities of long division. My heart swelled each time he achieved a small victory, his face lighting up with pride. I reveled in our simple family dinners, the table adorned with my homemade meals, pastas, roasts, and the infamous apple pie that he could never resist. And then there were the birthdays, a kaleidoscope of colorful balloons, cake, and that infectious smile on his innocent face. I would spend weeks preparing, pouring my heart into the details, ensuring everything was perfect. Every candle he blew out was a silent promise to love him fiercely, a commitment to always be there. Those moments filled my heart with purpose, a love that felt unshakable. But in the back of my mind, I knew that time was a relentless thief. I remember the first signs of change, the moment I realized I wasn't the sole figure in his life anymore. When Daniel started high school, it seemed the world expanded beyond our home. Friends began to take center stage, and I watched helplessly as my role shifted from primary caregiver to a mere supporter. It wasn't easy to adapt, watching him forge his own path while wanting to protect the bond we had nurtured for so long. The first time I met Lily, there was a budding sense of hope. She was charming, ambitious, and full of life. She slipped into our family dynamics with a grace I admired. I welcomed her with open arms, eager to embrace this new addition. Dinners together became lively affairs, her laughter blending in with ours, and for a fleeting moment, I believed she would bring us closer as a family. Yet, beneath the surface, I began to sense a tension. It started small, a dropped comment about my cooking, a dismissive wave of her hand when I suggested a family outing. I brushed it off, attributing it to the insecurities of a new daughter-in-law desperate to prove herself. How could I have known then that she would grow to place a wedge between Daniel and me, exploiting his loyalty to isolate me from the family? Looking back now, I shudder at the warning signs I overlooked. The way she would smile, that perfect smile, all while her eyes betrayed a bitterness I chose to ignore. I sacrificed so much, dedicating my life to molding Daniel into a compassionate man, only to see my efforts slowly devalued. The phone calls I didn't receive, the moments I was left out, it all bubbled beneath my skin, leaving me to grapple with the creeping realization that the love I cherished was slipping through my fingers. And now, as I stare at these family photos, the snapshots of happier times crack under the weight of my humiliation. The laughter we once shared feels like an echo, fading away into painful silence. Each memory whispers of a bond that has slowly frayed, ripped apart by the very woman I had welcomed. Now, in the wake of Lily's scornful words, I can no longer remain silent. This journey toward reclaiming my dignity has begun, fueled by the remnants of my past and the woman I chose to be, the loving mother who sacrificed everything. The air in the kitchen feels charged now, as if it carries my resolve, a promise that I will not allow this betrayal to define who I am or how I fit into the fabric of our family. When you're ready, we can continue to Block 2, the arrival of the daughter-in-law and first signs. The atmosphere shifted the day Lily walked into our lives like a new season, bright, buzzing, yet tinged with an unsettling chill. She was vibrant and poised, her long hair shimmering under the warm light of our kitchen. I remember how I prepared for their first visit as a couple, meticulously arranging flowers in a vase that had graced our table for years, hoping it would set the stage for what I thought would be a warm coming together. It was a balmy April afternoon when they arrived, all smiles and laughter. Daniel's enthusiasm was infectious. He beamed with pride as he introduced us, a warmth radiating from him that seemed to envelop the entire room. I welcomed Lily with open arms, excited to embrace this beautiful woman who had captured my son's heart. The dinner that night was filled with stories and laughter. I felt my worries lift as we passed plates of lasagna around the table, the same recipe I had perfected through years of dedicated cooking. Yet, beneath her laughter, I caught the subtlety of Lily's remarks. With each compliment veiled in a wry tone, her true colors became evident, a hint of condescension simmering below the surface. "Oh, Helen, you always make the best lasagna," she said. But the way her lips curled slightly as she emphasized always sent chills coursing down my spine. Yet I brushed it off, holding on to the fleeting hope that she was merely nervous and needed time to adjust to this new family dynamic. Slowly, those initial hints of discontent grew more pronounced. I began to notice Lily's undermining gestures, more than mere comments now. It was the way she would cut me off at family gatherings, turning the conversation to herself, presenting her ideas with an authority that belied her newcomer status. She would bring up plans for family outings, casting aside my suggestions as if they were irrelevant. One crisp autumn evening, I suggested a visit to the pumpkin patch, something we had always done together as a family. The idea slipped from my lips with a sense of nostalgia, imagining Daniel's childhood joy. But Lily's laugh pierced the air, sharp and derisive. "Why go to the patch when we can simply pick up some pumpkins from the store?" she quipped casually. I felt my chest tighten, the warmth of the idea extinguished by her flippant dismissal. It was the small moments that lingered. At Thanksgiving, when I presented my homemade cranberry sauce, her comment rang in my ears. "Oh, I've heard people prefer the canned version." Laughter erupted from a few friends gathered at the table, but my heart sank as I struggled to find the sense of humor in her words, an insult cloaked in a veil of cheer. Daniel chuckled along, unaware or perhaps unwilling to see the cracks forming. As the months wore on, her true motives began revealing themselves. She had begun to morph into a gatekeeper, holding the keys to Daniel's affections in a way that felt suffocating. I could sense the growing distance between us, like an invisible wall, and every time I reached out, it only seemed to solidify further. The cursed phone calls I didn't receive became a painful reminder of my diminishing role. Why wasn't I included in their plans? Was my presence no longer valued? With each exclusion, whispers of doubt gnawed at my spirit. I would stand by the window watching them leave for family outings without me, and I couldn't shake the feeling that my once cherished status was being eclipsed. Even my grandchildren, who had once rushed to greet me with open arms, began to hesitate, glancing sideways at their mother before approaching. It cracked my heart wide open to see their innocent loyalty swayed by a manipulative hand. I recall that winter evening when I was preparing a simple holiday gathering, my heart buzzing with anticipation. I wanted to bring back the warmth of our family bond, yet Lily arrived unexpectedly with her own agenda. As she directed traffic in my home, I felt completely overshadowed, a mere spectator at my own family celebration, her insistence on doing everything her way, suffocating the joy I had hoped to recreate. Sitting in my garden afterward on a chilly day, I clutched a journal in my hands, scribbling down my feelings, my fears, my metal slowly being worn down. I recounted moments that stung, the dismissive glances, the muted responses when I tried to contribute, before closing my eyes and breathing in the scent of my blossoming flowers. They reminded me of my resilience and of how I had nurtured my family through every storm. Was I to let Lily strip me of that ability? With every day that passed, I realized that beneath Lily's charming exterior lay a deep-rooted desire to assert her dominance within our family. The realization came as a punch to my gut. I had to confront this growing despair head-on. The holiday season approached, and with it a renewed determination blossomed within me. This was a fight for recognition and love. It was time to reclaim my identity before it couldn't be salvaged. I would open my heart to the truths I had overlooked and prepare to protect the bond I had cultivated with Daniel all those years. The time for silent sufferings had passed. When you're ready, we can continue to block 3. Silent humiliations. Days turned into weeks as I faced the relentless tide of humiliation brought on by Lily. Each encounter felt like walking through a minefield, twisting my stomach in knots. In my heart, a truth simmered beneath the surface. I needed to reclaim the dignity that had once defined me before it slipped away completely. Every gathering seemed engineered to highlight my diminishing role. It was a bright Saturday afternoon when Daniel invited us over for lunch. The vibrant colors of spring bloomed outside, yet a chill gripped my heart as I prepared for more subtle barbs from Lily. Despite my best intentions, apprehension tightened my chest. As I stepped into their home, the familiar smells of pasta and garlic intertwined in the air, wafting toward me. I had prepared a simple dessert, hoping it would bridge the estrangement I felt. But when I caught sight of Lily, already bustling about in the kitchen like a seasoned hostess, my heart sank. "Look who brought dessert," she exclaimed, her tone saccharine, yet laced with a condescension that churned my stomach as she gestured to my pie. "I hope it's okay if I serve my cake too," she chirped, her cheerful demeanor thriving as Daniel laughed, oblivious to the tension that enveloped us. As I settled into my chair at the table, dread gnawed at me. Each time I tried to speak, Lily would cut me off with an offhanded remark, casting me into the shadows of my own family gathering. At one point, when I mentioned a family outing, her laughter rang hollow. "Why go there when we can just order pizza?" she said, her words dripping with derision. Daniel chuckled along, and I felt my heart constrict. These moments of dismissal burrowed deeper than a simple slap. Thanksgiving had been another stark reminder of Lily's calculated undermining. I had brought my homemade cranberry sauce, excited to share it with everyone, yet she managed to draw attention to her store-bought version, commenting, "Some people prefer the convenience of canned goods." The laughter rippling around the table felt like daggers, each feeling sharper than the last as my contributions faded under her glare. Each quiet Friday dinner at their house transformed into a painful endurance test, and soon whispers of doubt coiled around my spirit. I would often find myself gazing out the window as they left for outings without me, an aching realization solidifying in my gut. The bond I cherished was being usurped. I felt swallowed up by the distance. My grandchildren, who had once rushed into my arms, began lingering uncertainly, stealing glances at their mother before they could approach. During another restless winter evening, I confided in my sisters, Emily and Sarah, sharing my fears about how the dynamics had shifted. "You have to stand your ground, Helen. It cannot go on like this," they urged, their words washing over me like a balm to my wounded pride. Their belief in me strengthened my resolve as I began to understand that I needed to confront Lily. I started crafting a plan, envisioning a family dinner where I would reclaim my place. The idea ignited a fire within me, reminding me of all that I had sacrificed, all that I had contributed. I began preparing a feast, a table adorned with colorful salads, a perfectly roasted chicken, and flavors that resonated with our shared history. For dessert, I decided to create a cake, a version of Lily's, but true to my essence, an offering that would highlight my love and commitment to the family I had nurtured. The kitchen buzzed with activity as I cooked, my heart swelling at the thought of reconnecting with Daniel. I envisioned the smiles on his face, the delight in my grandchildren's eyes as they welcomed me back into their world. It was time to pull past memories from their slumber, to remind everyone of the warmth that had once existed. With every chop of the vegetables and stir of the sauces, I felt stronger, more empowered. I prepared everything carefully, placing it all in a basket to take to their home the next day. This gathering would be a statement, a love letter wrapped in flavors and memories, a bold reminder of my place within the family fabric that had been distorted by Lily's overreach. The air felt charged with possibility as I stepped toward the future, a quiet resolution in my heart. Tomorrow would mark a pivotal moment in my journey. Tomorrow, I would fight for my dignity. I would not let it fade without a battle. When you're ready, we can continue to Block 4, the public humiliation. The following day dawned bright and promising, yet the anticipation simmering within me was a double-edged sword. As I loaded the basket into my car, I felt a mix of excitement and anxiety coiling tightly in my stomach. This dinner wasn't just a meal, it was my stand against the quiet humiliation I had endured, an act of defiance against the power Lily wielded over our family. Arriving at Daniel and Lily's home, I took a moment to steady my breath. The front porch was adorned with cheerful flower pots, the type of scene that used to fill me with warmth. Instead, it felt tainted by Lily's undeniable influence. I could hear laughter spilling through the open door, the sound of my grandchildren's delight mingling with the bitter edge of my resolve. Taking a deep breath, I knocked, and the door swung open to reveal Lily in a flurry of energy, her eyes alight with faux enthusiasm. "Helen, you're here, right on time, as always," she exclaimed, her tone dripping with condescension. "Thanks, Lily," I replied, forcing a smile as I stepped inside. The dining area was already set, complete with an oversized centerpiece that crowned her chosen decor. The table was laden with her dishes, a grand display meant to overwhelm. My heart quickened. How would I find space for my offerings in this opulent spread that screamed dominance? "Let's dig in," Daniel called, his face lighting up as he reached for the plates. "What did you bring, Mom?" His gaze met mine, bright with curiosity and a gleeful anticipation that brought warmth to my heart, despite the knots forming in my stomach. As I unveiled the contents of my basket, my heart raced. The vibrant salads shone alongside the glistening roast chicken. It was my labor of love, a representation of my unwavering dedication to our family bonds. But when I placed the cake on the table, a pang of vulnerability shot through me. Would it be met with the same delight I once had as Daniel's mother? Lily's presence loomed large. She flashed a smile, but I sensed the subtext, the bubbling critique barely contained beneath her polished exterior. "Oh, how sweet, Helen. Homemade cake, just like always. But, my version is more contemporary." As she drew attention to her elaborate dessert, the air thickened. Her tone cut through the moment, a reminder of how attentively she controlled the narrative. "Thanks for bringing this, Mom. I can't wait to try it." Daniel remarked with genuine enthusiasm. It made my heart flutter momentarily, yet I could still feel the weight of Lily's disapproval hovering, beckoning me to plan my next move carefully. As we settled into dinner, I focused on maintaining the conversation. Daniel, remember when we made these salads together? I nudged memories into play, hoping to unite our family in their nostalgia. My mind raced to orchestrate our past together, a tapestry carefully designed to highlight my contributions. Lily interjected, her voice smooth like honey. Oh, but do you recall the time I made that stunning lobster salad? Everyone raved about it. The laughter that followed felt like a wedge pressing deeper into the cracks I was trying to mend. My contributions began melting into the background like mere afterthoughts, that silent humiliation creeping back into the edges of my vision. I pressed on, determined not to let her undermine my attempts. Yes, Lily, but I believe the simplicity of these flavors speaks volumes. Family is rooted in the simple times we share, I countered, hoping to bring warmth back into the conversation. The tension thickened momentarily as I held my breath, aware that my son's eyes shifted between us like a pendulum, unsure which side to take. The meal continued amid mounting tension, my every attempt at connection thwarted by Lily's relentless need to dominate the narrative. As dessert approached, I poured a renewed energy into my resolve. It was time to stand firm. I needed to reclaim my place not just in this meal, but in every moment that set the stage for our family dynamics. Lily, why don't you help me serve the cake? I offered, a calculated move that would put us on equal footing. It was a small act, but one that spoke volumes of confidence. A flicker of surprise crossed her features, momentarily robbing her of her polished demeanor. Sure, let's serve Helen's cake, everyone, she said, her voice now tinged with impatience. Yet, I sensed a ripple of acknowledgement resonating with my intention. As we dished up slices, I caught Daniel's eyes filled with pride and warmth. This looks incredible, Mom. Just like the old days, he smiled, and for a fleeting moment the tension dissipated. Yet, as Lily presented her slice, she couldn't resist her final jab. You know, bread is the staff of life, but too much cake, she mused, trailing off, her words a carefully woven insult. With my heart racing, I took a breath, and the moment crystallized. This was where my dignity would resurface. Lily, every meal tells a story, and I want our family's story to reflect love and connection, I replied, my voice steady. This cake is a part of that. The room fell silent, the weight of my words hanging in the air. I felt empowered by the vulnerability of speaking my truth aloud, the recognition spiraling through me. In that moment, I broke free from the mold that Lily had shaped around me. As the children dug into the cake, their faces lighting up, I saw Daniel's smile grow broader, eclipsing Lily's waning influence. The warmth of familial love began to work its magic around the table, pushing back her sharp edges as the laughter grew. Tomorrow would still hold challenges, but today marked a pivotal step in reclaiming my dignity. There was solace in the recognition that I was no longer just the mother chasing shadows. I had found my voice, one that could not be muted. When you're ready, we can continue to Block 5, Confrontation and the Unveiling of Truth. The moments following the dinner lingered in my heart, a flutter of liberation fusing with cautious optimism. As the children scampered off, giggling and playing games in the living room, Daniel cleared away the remnants of the feast, a sincerity radiating from him that warmed my heart. He turned to me, his eyes shining. Thanks for coming over tonight, Mom. I really enjoyed it. My heart swelled. This was the connection I had longed for, the one Lily had tried for too long to erode. But the ebb and flow of family tension was far from over. I could feel Lily's simmering reaction beneath the surface, her facade crackling like fine porcelain ready to shatter. "Can we talk, Helen?" she called from the kitchen, her voice strained but cordial. It felt ominous, a silent storm gathering just beyond the horizon. "Sure," I answered, my nerves knotting slightly as I stepped into the kitchen. The warm glow of the evening wasn't enough to dispel the tense atmosphere hovering between us. She stood over the counter, arms crossed protectively, eyes narrowed against the soft light above. "I'm surprised by how bold you were tonight," she began, but it felt less like a compliment and more like a declaration of war. "You really think you can just waltz in here and reclaim your territory?" I squared my shoulders, defiance crawling up from the pit of my stomach, swirling into a sense of purpose. "It's not about territory, Lily. It's about family, about nurturing bonds that you seem to want to sever." Her laughter was laced with disbelief, a brittle sound that shattered in the air. "Oh, please, Helen. You think I'm the villain here? You're the one who can't let go of the past." She leaned closer, a challenge igniting between us. "Daniel loves my cooking, my ideas, everything I bring to this family. Don't you think it's time you step back?" The air turned electric with tension, and I could feel the weight of her words wrapping around my throat, squeezing tighter with every passing moment. But this time I wouldn't be silenced. I took a deep breath, channeling my courage into each word. "You're right, Lily. Daniel loves your cooking, and I respect that. But what I've contributed should remain valued, just as you want your position recognized." "Valued," she spat, her voice sharp enough to cut through the tension like a knife. "This isn't a competition, Helen. It's about who's the better fit for this family." It was astonishing to see how fiercely she defended her authority, how unwilling she was to acknowledge the contributions and sacrifices I had made over the years. My voice shook with suppressed emotions, a blend of anger and sorrow. I was the one who raised Daniel. The heart of this family was built on my love. It's not an exchange or a transaction. It's family. Lily's face twisted in irritation, fury flashing across her eyes. "Yet here you are, talking about family while making me the enemy," she snapped. "You're just playing the victim, and I won't have it." The walls felt like they were closing in around me, but I stood firm, my feet planted in a reality I needed to defend. I'm not playing the victim. I'm standing my ground. If the constant undermining of my role in this family continues, I will not withdraw quietly. "Withdraw? You haven't been in my way, Helen, until tonight." Her words dripped with malice, venom spilling into the air between us like a thick fog. I took a step back, instincts flaring as I felt the rift widening. "I want to be included, not banished to the sidelines," I countered, voice gaining strength as I spoke. "It's time you understood the impact of your actions on my relationship with Daniel and the kids. I won't let you dictate my place anymore." The tension escalated, clarity sharpening my focus as I pressed on. "I've sacrificed so much to keep this family together, and I won't let it be diminished by manipulation or spite. Daniel needs to see the truth, not just the version you've created." "Good luck with that," she retorted, her voice cold, draped in mockery. "He's happy with me. And honestly, I doubt he'd appreciate you stirring things up." With those words, a heaviness settled on my chest, yet I felt an unexpected steadiness inside me. I countered, "And perhaps it's time Daniel sees the true dynamics of our family. I will not continue wearing a mask for the sake of keeping peace. He deserves honesty, so do I." We stood there, two opposing forces in the kitchen, each locked in a standoff. I could feel the anger radiating off her, a desperate grasp of control battling my struggle for agency. And then a key moment of realization dawned on me. "Lily," I said softly, my voice layered with a newfound calm, The only power you have is the dominance that's been allowed. Perhaps you should reflect on what is driving your need to control everything around you. Is it really about love or insecurity? Her eyes widened, the confidence flashing out like a bulb flickering in the dark. You think you can just admit it, Lily, I interrupted, pressing through her frustration. This isn't just about me, it's about the family we want to build together. We can either become allies or adversaries, but I won't continue this way. With those words, I reached a turning point. A heartbreaking but necessary truth hung in the air. In the silence that followed, I caught my breath, a deep-rooted silence enveloping us, urging me to hold firm in my truth while navigating the consequences of our confrontation. I turned on my heel and started toward the door, feeling the weight of my voice echoing in the tension behind me. I hope you reflect on this, Lily. We can do better. For Daniel and the kids, I refuse to be swept away without a fight. No. As I stepped out into the cool night air, I breathed in deeply, tasting freedom mingled with the bittersweet tang of confrontation. In that moment of stepping into reality, I understood that my journey was far from over, but I had set a course for clarity that could no longer be obscured. Tomorrow would bring more challenges, but I was armed with a truth that could no longer be silenced or ignored. When you're ready, we can continue to Block 6, the unraveling. The next morning brought a crispness in the air, but an unsettling heaviness lingered over my thoughts. The confrontation with Lily replayed in my mind like a haunting echo. What little pride I felt in standing my ground was overshadowed by a swirling anxiety about what would come next. Would Daniel support me in this newfound openness, or would I find myself alone in the fray? I took my usual place at the kitchen table, the morning light filtering through the window, illuminating the scattered remnants of life, crumpled napkins from the dinner, remnants of cake crumbs stuck to plates. The scent of coffee enveloped the room, a warm embrace against the uncertainties I faced. As I stirred the brewing coffee, my phone buzzed against the table. I froze, dread creeping in. It was a message from Daniel. "Can we talk?" My heart raced. This was it, the moment of reckoning I had both feared and hoped for. I texted back, agreeing to meet him at the little cafe down the street, a favorite spot where we'd shared countless cups of coffee and borrowed moments of connection. The subsequent hour dragged on, filled with restless anticipation. The kitchen felt like a jungle, each sound amplified, the ticking of the clock, the distant horns from the street below. I could feel the weight of every second inching closer to the unknown. When I finally arrived at the cafe, the familiar aroma of freshly baked pastries mixed with brewed coffee washed over me, momentarily easing my tension. I spotted Daniel seated in a corner, eyes scanning the door before they lit up upon seeing me. "Mom," he greeted warmly, his embrace wrapping around me like a protective blanket. Yet, the moment we pulled apart, I noticed the shadow hovering beneath the surface of his smile. I was hoping we could talk about what happened with Lily. My breath caught. This was the heart of the matter. The moment I'd hoped would become a turning point for us. I nodded, gesturing for him to take a seat. "Yes, I think we need to." As we settled at the table, the conversation flowed cautiously at first. I recalled the feelings that had swirled during dinner, the way Lily's dismissal stung every time I attempted to assert myself. I shared, feeling the vulnerability weave through my words, articulating the pain caused by her manipulation and control. "Daniel, I love you and your family deeply. I was only trying to find my place and reconnect with all of you, but I know, Mom, I've seen how much you've been there for us. You raised me," he replied, his eyebrows furrowing as he spoke. A moment of hope flickered within me. Then why is it so easy for Lily to overshadow that? I asked, urgency lacing my voice. I need you to see how her actions affect our family, how they hurt my relationship with you and the kids. His eyes softened, but I noticed a flicker of discomfort. It's complicated, Mom. I love Lily too. I can see that she wants what's best for our family too, but I have always wanted what's best for this family too. I interrupted before composing myself again. Daniel, please understand. I am not against her. I'm just fighting for my place, the role I've always had. Lily and I have created something new together. He mused, struggling between two worlds. She's been a huge support to me since you and Dad divorced. I thought you understood. His words twisted around my heart, and I fought back the sorrow that threatened to spill over. That grief is never something I wanted you to feel, but it doesn't diminish my love for you. I reached across the table, taking his hand in mine. You are my son. My bond with you doesn't fade just because she's in the picture, but my heart feels like it's being overlooked. As Daniel exhaled slowly, I saw the inner conflict contorting his expression, the struggle between honoring his past and accepting the present. I know you both are different. I think she's been trying so hard to create a life with us that she may not realize how it's pushing you away, he admitted. Exactly, I urged, my voice steady. But she's genuinely trying to undermine our past, a past that was built on love and support. I can't ignore that any longer. His gaze dropped away for a moment, contemplation flickering behind his eyes. Lily, she's amazing at a lot of things, but she doesn't know your story, he murmured almost to himself, and I think she's afraid of what that might mean. Affectionate warmth mixed with a simmering urgency fueled my determination. Help her see that our family thrives on all our stories, Daniel. I'm more than a distant memory. I have a place here still. We can't keep pretending. After a long pause, Daniel finally met my eyes again, a spark igniting in those warm depths. You're right. Maybe I could talk to her, help her understand. We'll figure this out. He nodded, resolution beginning to bloom. I want to be allies, not adversaries, I declared, a newfound strength radiating through me. As our conversation continued, the air thickened with unspoken potential, a belief that perhaps tomorrow could reflect something different. With every moment spent unraveling the tangled threads of our family dynamics, I held on to hope that a path existed, one that could lead us back to each other amidst the storm. As we left the cafe, walking side by side into the sunlit street, I finally felt a fleeting sense of lightness, a slight easing of the burdens I'd carried for too long. It wasn't over, but with Daniel by my side, I began to believe that a new chapter was unfolding, a chance to reshape our family narrative, one filled with possibility instead of silence. Tomorrow would still have its challenges, but this time I welcomed them with open arms. When you're ready, we can continue to Block 7, Confrontation with Lily. The days after my heartfelt conversation with Daniel felt like an eternity as I awaited the change we so desperately needed. Then, one sunny Saturday, I received an urgent call from him. "Can you come over? I need you," he said. My heart raced. Had he finally spoken to Lily? "I'll be there in 10, I replied, adrenaline surging through me. Upon arriving at Daniel and Lily's home, the tantalizing smell of something baking wafted through the air, but it did nothing to quell the tension hanging between us. Lily opened the door, her smile faltering as she led me into the living room. The children played nearby, blissfully unaware of the emotional storm brewing among the adults. "Mom!" Daniel greeted as soon as he saw me, concern etched into his features. "We need to talk about what happened with Lily." My heart pounded. This was the moment. I settled into a chair, adrenaline coursing through me as I braced myself. "I talked to Lily earlier," he began. "We have to address what's been happening." His tone was steady, but I sensed the undercurrent of anxiety beneath the surface. What do you mean? Lily asked, defensiveness creeping into her voice. Your comments at family dinners, he replied. You've dismissed Mom too many times, and it's affecting everyone, especially her. Lily crossed her arms, her face twisting in disbelief. I thought I was just contributing my perspective. Am I supposed to ignore my voice in this family? No, Daniel said firmly. But we need balance. Mom's voice matters. It's not just your world. Silence enveloped the room, and I felt the tension build palpably. For a heartbeat, I wondered if this confrontation would only lead to further conflict. But then I spoke softly. Lily, it's not about replacing anyone. It's about finding a way to coexist, recognizing that we can all contribute love. Her brow furrowed, and I saw the vulnerability behind her defiance. I don't want to be an enemy, she replied, her voice softer now, almost pleading. I think I wanted to be the centerpiece of our family, to make something beautiful. Then let's create that beauty together, I urged, warmth blooming in my chest. We can find harmony without sidelining one another. Daniel's eyes flickered between us, and I noticed a change in Lily as the walls around her heart seemed to soften. I never meant to push anyone away, she admitted. I was just scared. Scared of being replaced? I asked, empathizing with her struggle. Maybe we should talk about what unity really means. Yeah, Daniel chimed in, his expression shifting to one of understanding. We all have our roles, and that can be a good thing, if we let it. With that, the tension in the room shifted, growing lighter as we continued to speak, our words building a bridge rather than a barrier. For the first time, Lily and I began to see each other not as adversaries, but as partners with shared common ground. Can we at least try to accommodate each other? Lily asked hesitantly, her eyes searching mine. Absolutely, I replied, relief flooding through me. We deserve to rewrite this family narrative together. As we spoke, our little family began to find its footing again, weaving our stories into a tapestry held by love and respect. The road ahead would be challenging, but I was filled with hope that we could navigate it together, forging connections that celebrated all of our experiences. Tomorrow would undoubtedly bring its own trials, but we faced them hand in hand, each step toward unity stronger than the last. When you're ready, we can continue to Block 8, New Beginnings and Rejuvenated Dignity.